So, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Today we are gonna go through something different. I guess that we actually no, we didn't. I think we didn't. So maybe, probably we're gonna go through the latter part of the autobiography by Will Smith, or of Will Smith, also by Will Smith, since it's an autobiography, from the Derek Sivers or Sivers.rs site. I think that there's just a little tiny bit left that I need to go through as far as I remember, but I may also be taking that back. But I guess not. Or have I? I guess I have. Inner peace of fulfillment is generated through output. Yeah, I have. So let's actually see what we can find else on the Derek Sivers site. Because there are actually really a lot of different book notes and book summaries and whatnot. Definitely worth going through. Me in 10 Seconds, books, podcast, listener, book notes. The listening book. Everyone should read this book of little essays about listening. It teaches your ears to pay more attention. It calls your attention to sounds you don't notice. You hadn't noticed. Yeah, you don't notice. Good English, my man. Good English. Let me see. So there was, well, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but the autobiography was written by Will Smith and Mark Manson. As far as I remember, Mark Manson being this dude that also wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck or something. Something like that, and I don't remember. Getting Things Done. How to manage every last itty-bitty tiny thing in your life. Keep your inbox empty. Reread 16 years later. Several short sentences about writing by Verlin Klinkenborg. The second best and most radical book about great writing. It helps you to focus entirely on a sentence, an approach that was already my favorite. Then there is Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb, which is really an amazing book. And he's really an amazing author as well. This is something even more to point out and underline and emphasize, since it's just amazing. But Getting Things Done by David Allen. I would really like to go through this one, mainly because I guess and I assume that it is always a great thing to know better how to manage your time, your resources, and so on and so forth. But yeah, Getting Things Done by David Allen. I'm going to actually tell you the ISBN. So if you want to look this book up, just put in the ISBN number and you're set. 0142000280. My notes. 2 key objectives. First one, capture all things into a logical and trusted system. And second of all, make decisions about the inputs you let into your life so that you will always have a plan for next actions. Almost every project could be done better, and an infinite quantity of information is now available that could make that happen. Yeah, that is quite the case. We are having so much information. Most often it is indeed about choosing which information to trust and which information to just, completely neglect and throw out of the window. If you could keep life in general more in check, no resistance moves, no relationship changes, you might be able to create a rhythm and system of managing it that would allow for some relaxed stability. This is something that I've seen in 2020 when I was learning for my A-levels. I was really dialed in. I was really happy because everything was systemized. First thing in the morning, I woke up, worked out, Then I did the podcast and then everything around that. And then I started learning, and everything went really, really well. My A-level grades were pretty amazing. I've, been able to kind of push the envelope a bit compared to, also compared, not necessarily and not generally, but also compared to the grades that I had in the years before, and so on and so forth. It's just been a great system. It's just been a great life indeed as well. I was really happy and I was really fulfilled, and I was really, really, really feeling good. We are allowing in huge amounts of information and communication from the outer world, and are generating an equally large volume of ideas and agreements with others and ourselves from the inner world. Distracted by our mind wandering to other things going on in your life, impelled to check email for potentially meaningful new input. Potentially. Is this really the case? Most often I would argue no. The inputs that we're getting, they don't necessarily matter. A lot of them, let's put it like this, a lot of them just do not matter. But yeah. You have probably made many more agreements with yourself than you realize. More stress comes from inappropriately managed commitments you make or accept. Yes, I have noticed that, and I have lived that. And I've, so many times I've said to myself, don't do that. Don't stress that much, and so on and so forth. But it is a recurring theme, I'd say. It is something that's really easy to do again. It is something, it's pretty easy to step into this path again, or onto this path again, which is definitely a pity, but it is what it is. One can change that, and one can manage that, but in the end, it boils down to seeing it, accepting it, and then just being ready for changing it. Anything that does not belong where it is, the way it is an open loop pulling on your attention. It calls out psychologically, decide about me. And if you don't have the energy or focus at the moment to think and decide, it will simply remind you that you're overwhelmed. As soon as you tell yourself that you might need to do something and store it only in your head, that there is a part of you that thinks you should be doing that something all the time. I do want to reread that. Anything that does not belong where it is, the way it is an open loop pulling on your attention. It calls out psychologically, quote unquote, decide about me. And if you do not have the energy or focus at the moment to think and decide, it will simply remind you that you are overwhelmed. As soon as you tell yourself that you might need to do something and store it only in your head, there is a part of you that thinks you should be doing that something all the time. Thought is useful when it motivates action, thought is useful when it motivates action, and a hindrance when it substitutes for action. Yeah. In the end, thinking is important, but thinking is just the, is it called predecessor? I guess it is, to doing something. And doing something in the real end is taking action, and taking action is what creates change. Nothing more and nothing less. And this is something to think about, and this is something to keep in mind, and this is something to focus on as well. So, do so. Do something. Managing action is the prime challenge. What you do with your time, what you do with information, what you do with your body. Yes, definitely. Something, or all of these things are things that we are in control of. You decide what you're doing with your body. You decide what you're doing with your time. You decide X, Y, and also Z. You can't do a project at all. You can only do an action related to it. Define one, what done means, so the outcome, and second, what doing looks like. This is really important. Especially, I think, the first part of it. what is being done? What is done? And well, how you define being done? How you define okay, I've also done enough. You know, I'm finished, or I'm sorry, I have finished. Like, what does it mean to you? What does this look like? And if you define that and you're getting up to this point, then you're done with the task. If you haven't defined it yet, you know, if this is something that is, you know, kind of floating around, you're not quite sure what it is, you're not quite sure how you think about things, and so on and so forth, well, what is being done then? Can you ever be done? You know, if it is a changing system, if it is something that you always kind of quote unquote make up, can you at some point be done? And what is doing, you know, what does doing look like? What is taking action? And what is action that is sufficient, quite? That's really, really important, and it is indeed also something that I need to define for myself, and I need to change for myself. But it's, I think, well, it is not easy as so many things, and it should also be realistic. I mean, when I say, okay, done is when I've done my best, well, what is my best? You know, defining something with something that you actually indeed needs to define as well is pretty dumb and pretty unnecessary. It's not getting you any further. But on the other hand, yeah, it's just, you know, it's just really, really, really difficult. The last one for the day. There is usually an inverse relationship between how much something is on your mind and how much it's getting done. Yeah, that's really the case. It really is. You know, if there's so many things in your mind or on your mind, one tends to indeed be tends to be really inefficient with time and energy and whatnot. But something that I just thought about. I was just looking around in my room or my flat or whatever, and I realized that I should probably tidy it up again. And well, I guess this is one of those things that is indeed like taking attention from me and from me doing work, quite, because it is not in line with how I'd like things to be like, you know. But yeah, anyway, I think that it is really a good book. I definitely recommend you going through it. I guess that's the next episode is going to be tomorrow, I assume, I think, but I'm not quite sure, but we're going to see what time brings. Anyway, going to see you the next time, so bye-bye.